Thank you for listening to another episode of Dan Tony Sports. My name is Dan Snyder, joined tonight by Dan O'Shea and Tony Casper. Dan, Tony, how you guys doing tonight?
Been better. Long day at work, but I'm ready for this.
I can't complain. Sun's shining, stopped raining.
That is nice.
Time, yeah.
That is nice. And of course, it's nice to have all three of us back again. So this is going to be an exciting show. Just to let you all know the things we're going to do tonight, we're going to talk very briefly about UAlbany lacrosse and how disappointed we are with their absolutely poor performance. And we're also going to talk a little bit of WWE. We're going to run through the 5 people that we want to see in WWE. But first, tonight, like always, we have our pigskin poetry. Pete Carroll, you silly man. Always run the ball when you can, especially when you have a beast. Give him one more try at least. You threw the ball, you hit a wall, and allowed the Patriots to feast. Nice. That, of course, is referencing the Super Bowl when you have the ball on the 2-yard line and you don't give it to Marshawn Lynch, who was by far the best running back in the NFL then.
Yeah, we're going to see if Jack Del Rio knows
this.
Was
that 2013?
That was
2014.
That was 2014.
14, yeah. Yeah, Pete Carroll looks like a comic book villain sometimes, and but that time around he wasn't acting like one. That wasn't crafty enough. I guess.
I thought it was hilarious when Marshawn Lynch was shown laughing on the sidelines after it happened. We'll see if Jack Del Rio knows how to use it, because I think that's one of the reasons he was even brought in. I mean, very few teams drew as many pass interference in the red zone penalties as that team. I think Amari Cooper had a handful of them himself. If they keep doing that this year, you give them a 1st and 1 on the 1-yard line, you're not going to Lynch?
Oh my goodness.
We've seen other people make that mistake. Hopefully the readers have learned, assuming, of course, that Beast Mode is back to...
Well, I mean, I think he's going to have some kind of revive because he's going to love the idea of playing for Oakland. I mean, to the point that his mother asked Woodson to wear him 24, and Woodson said, "Let's keep it in the family," and he's going to wear 24 again, even though it's retired.
So I think, I think Marshawn Lynch is going to have a great season as long as he gets enough Skittles in him. Yeah,
well, I mean, I think they're going to use him as that bruiser back a lot more. I mean, they already had a solid running team last year, given the rotary of people they were putting in, and adding Lynch to the mix is just, I mean, that's a guy that you expect in a 1.
Yeah, like,
instantly
you need 2-3 yards of the depth chart.
Yeah, who you want to give it to?
Especially when you lost Latavius Murray.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Well, he wasn't anything special. You could kind of see, I had him in fantasy, and you could kind of see that they were growing tired of him pretty quickly. His production, wasn't really there. He was getting a good amount of volume to start, and then they just kind of...
They had a lot of options, though. I mean, the other running backs were good as well. So, I mean, they really were trying to figure out what they had in these young guys.
Yeah, they liked the guys with more versatility.
His blocking was also invaluable. He was very good at protecting Derek Carr.
That's true.
But we'll see if that can be beat into the other guys.
We'll see how he does. I don't know where he went.
Minnesota, I believe.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
He's replacing Jerick McKinnon. That's an instant upgrade.
Yeah. Well, I mean, between Matt Asiata and Jerick McKinnon, it's like, could you have a worse running back stable? I don't know. They were...
Oh, yes. Yes, you can.
Unproductive.
New York Giants.
We haven't had a good running back stable in a while. That's for sure.
Better than Asiata, though.
Well,
no
I'd
way.
Say that. Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Asiata literally just falls forward. That's all he does. He gets to the line and he falls forward. And gets like 2 or 3 yards.
Vereen was on the roster.
Okay, Shane Vereen was on the roster, but he was injured.
Right.
That's like saying, okay, Adrian Peterson was on the roster for the Vikings.
Yeah. I mean, if you had a healthy running back, then it might have been.
Well, not to mention, Perkins was first year. Relax.
No, I'm not necessarily talking about Paul Perkins.
Rashad.
He was terrible.
He's also constantly hurt. Like, I don't know if the dude's played a full season in the past, 3 seasons.
He's
all combined.
He was terrible with a capital oh my god.
I don't know how you spell that terrible word that you just said, but I'd agree he wasn't very good.
All right, we can talk about this a whole lot more at a later time. We have a lot that we need to get to tonight. So we're going to try, for once in 10 episodes, to stay focused.
All right. Let's give it a shot. I don't see it happening now. But
No. U Albany lacrosse. So let's just set the stage for those of you who don't know. They sweep the season in America East play. They dominate one of the highest scoring teams in the country. Their freshman face-off man, T.D. Ireland, was the number 2 in the country behind I don't remember his name, the kid from Denver. He won 73% of his face-offs, which is insane.
yeah, it's a really high number. Not to mention one of the best players in the country, if not the best player in the country, in Connor Fields.
Yeah,
That offense was, if not the number one, it was one of the best scoring offenses in the country.
Absolutely. They only lost prior to the playoffs. Only lost 2 games. Both times they played the number 1 team in the country, Syracuse and Maryland. Both times they lost by 1 goal. Come playoff time, they draw the number 8 seed, which I have no idea how when they're the number 4 team in the country. But regardless of that, they draw the number 8 seed, and they have the unfortunate luck of having to play the defending national champion North Carolina Tar Heels. Fast forward to the game, Albany goes up 13-3 at the end of the first half on North Carolina. They end up storming back. Albany squeaks out the win 15-12 when it looked like North Carolina was going to just completely blow right past them. So Albany got the scare out of the way, and they had momentum heading into the game against Maryland, the rematch from earlier in the season. And this game just absolutely was awful. Awful. Albany went down 2-0, which isn't that bad. Not bad at all. And then came back, scored 2 goals of their own. Maryland scored the next 9. And it was ridiculous. 13-4, or 12-4, at the half, Maryland was up. Albany couldn't score. They couldn't defend. At one point, Maryland took 7 shots and made all 7.
Wow.
Yeah, so Maryland was just having the game of their career. And Tony mentioned Connor Fields being probably the best player in the country. And the award, the Heisman-like award for college lacrosse is called the Tewaaraton Award. And there's a Tewaaraton finalist in Maryland named Matt Rambo who's not that bad. So Rambo versus Fields. I first of all, I just can't get over the fact that his name is Rambo.
Yeah, it's a great name. It's an absolute great name. And actually, he should be on my WWE list.
Just
for the name alone.
He should. But he literally took the game over. It was absolutely crazy. Everything Maryland did worked. Nothing Albany did worked. So when you get down to what Albany does best, face-offs, they started out winning 7 of 7 and then lost the next 12. Mm-hmm. And then Maryland just overpowered them. So the final ended up being 18-9. It was not that close. Maryland called off the Dogs in the third quarter and still scored and won. So
it's just embarrassing. There's no other way to look at it. I don't know what is Albany's problem, because every single year we keep getting this new crop of talent that comes through, and they play extremely well during the season. They get to the ability to be in the NCAA tournament, will get to somewhere like the Elite Eight, and it's almost like stage fright. They forget what they were doing. Everything falls apart. It didn't look to me. It looked to me very clear from the beginning that Maryland had a game plan, and it looked like Albany didn't plan for any of it.
So here's what it looked like. If you're comparing this to other sports, it looked like Albany played man defense against players that were well above their skill set, which isn't true. Albany, this is the best defense. I believe this is the best defense Albany's ever had. This is one of the best offenses Albany's ever had. They were, if you ask pretty much anyone who's a quote-unquote expert on college lacrosse, they were the most complete team in the country. it doesn't always work out that way.
Yeah, they've never gotten past the quarterfinal, I don't think.
No,
they've never gotten to
the Final Four. They've come close. They had 2 really good games in 2014 and 2015 against Notre Dame.
There was also a 1-goal loss to Cornell in overtime before that prevented them from a championship back in, I believe it was 6 or 7.
I can honestly say, after watching this game, this is... And I described myself to you guys as a huge fanboy of UAlbany sports, and I still am. But this is the most embarrassed I have ever been for a loss in UAlbany sports since I've been a fan. Like, with other teams losing, let's use basketball for an example. UAlbany women basketball beats Florida and then loses to Syracuse. Okay, UAlbany probably shouldn't have beaten Florida. I'm fine with that. UAlbany men's basketball, they get really close in the tournament. They give really good games to Florida, to Duke, to North Carolina. I don't remember who else they've played off the top of my head, but they've played competitive, and they shouldn't have been. Florida should have absolutely wiped the floor with UAlbany, but UAlbany kept it to 12-point loss, which Florida was like the number 1 overall team in the tournament. So, no problems there. They shouldn't have been there. Albany, lacrosse, on the other hand, number 4 team in the country. And I'm sorry if I sound really critical, but they didn't play like it. And I was extremely disappointed because if you're the number 4 team in the country, I get you're playing the number 1 team, but play like the number 4.
Well, yeah, I mean, it just didn't seem like Albany had any of it going. And the standard is high when it comes to UAlbany lacrosse. It is one thing that Albany is known for and gets put on ESPN more often than anything else UAlbany does. UAlbany gets on ESPN when they can get a run from the men or women's teams to get into the NCAA tournament, but nobody's broadcasting the UAlbany football games, so they're not getting love, but the lacrosse team is there consistently. And when you have a team that offers so much promise and does so well during the season, it makes watching what I watched on Sunday that much harder to stomach.
I think the worst thing about it for me is I was sitting there watching the game at the official UAlbany watch party, and I paid $20 for a burger and Mountain Dew to watch UAlbany lose. So it was a great burger. Don't get me wrong.
We were also surrounded by
Did it
a
help
lot
make
of
up
other
for it at
people.
all? Because it doesn't sound like it.
No.
I couldn't watch the game, as you know, I was moving, but I was catching your updates on Facebook, and at halftime I was like, oh, that's worrisome, because that's a big lead.
It's a big deficit.
You know, lacrosse is relatively high scoring, but that kind of deficit is really difficult to come back from, and 7 goals and 7 shots. That's a failing on the defense. That's a failing on the goalkeeping.
Yeah. And J.D. Colarusso, the goaltender, he looked like he was just standing there letting balls get past him.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bad performance all across the board. I mean, the defense didn't really give him that much help. Rambo was able to do almost whatever he pleased. He was just backing people down.
Which I've come to expect. He did it the first game against UAlbany. He did it against every team he played against.
Right, but you can't be surprised by it. Now, especially not at this stage in the game where you know what they're going to go to.
I mean, Connor Fields had a great game for UAlbany. He scored...
Yeah, but you can't expect Connor... I mean, an offense at that high scoring and given the pass-making ability of Connor Fields... You can't expect Connor Fields to win this game outright by himself. Not with the options that they have and the power they could have thrown, the shots they could have thrown at net. Didn't seem like they could control the ball. Even when they did get the ball, they were turning it over so much.
Yeah, stupid long cross-field passes.
Doesn't make it. It did nothing that I saw on there made any sense to me as far as how UAlbany should have played that game or what they should have been ready to do.
And then I think one of the things that was by far the most embarrassing to me. We did an entire episode about sportsmanship, kind of. We talked about the bad guys.
We're not really the pinnacle of sportsmanship.
But was it just me, or did UAlbany not just look like they were being aggressive, but they looked like they were being bullies, like in a bad way?
Oh, I think frustration definitely came out of it. Yeah, I don't think UAlbany expected to be in that situation, and I think that by the time they got the reality check, it was too late, and they